AskReddit. What is your red flag in a woman or man when you're in the early stages of dating? Got jealous about every single call you received, even when it was from your family members, accusing you of cheating with that whore you're on the phone with, even though that whore was your dad. They ended up being a major cheater in the end. When I feel like I have to initiate every single contact between us, and if I don't we simply won't talk that day. Oversteps boundaries too quickly, pushy, tells you what to do, invasive questions. Being flaky with communication and or meeting up. To an extent life can and will get in the way, but there's a certain level of enthusiasm you want to see from a potential partner, and if they can't muster it during the honeymoon stage of dating, it's probably not going to improve later. I like girls who are physically affectionate, but my ex was so clingy she had her gay friends visit the gay bar I worked at to make sure I wasn't flirting with girls. Straight bartender at a 99% male gay bar. That's not clingy. That's insecure. Blowing up my phone at 2 in the morning is a big one for me. I don't mind so much if it's 1 or 2 messages late at night, so long as they obviously know most people are asleep around then, but if I wake up to like a dozen or so texts where they're growing increasingly mad that I'm not responding, it's a red flag. Playing head games. We are not in high school, and you aren't on The Bachelorette. Be honest, sincere, and forthcoming, and we'll get along just fine. I'm in my mid-30s, and thus am too old and rickety to jump through hoops. The one that raises straight away for me is if they talk bad or down on others, even people they don't know, and it's merely off how they look or dress. If they aren't willing to compromise on things, or they think their time is more precious than yours. My ex lived about 30 minutes away from me. I always met at his place or his town for stuff, be never the other way around because he was too tired. It got under my skin because he literally was a 5-minute drive from his job and I already averaged about 90 miles a day for work alone. So I'd drive for work, go home and then drive to his place. One day he tried rushing me out of our morning yoga class that ran over time, like got really uptight about it, so he wouldn't be late for work, still 5-minute way. Meanwhile I was gonna have at least a 25-minute commute to get to my job, and wasn't that worried about it. I broke things off for other reasons, but that one really buttered my rolls, because I dealt with it every day. When they dodge answering questions, or cut you off when you're talking, I give them a pass the first time, because it might be nerves, but if it keeps happening it's not okay. This is a really good one. I'm lucky that I went out on a couple of dates with a very straightforward girl a few years ago. There were a number of reasons she didn't want to continue forward after 2 dates, but she did tell me that she felt I cut her off, talked over her quite a bit, and she was telling me because she could tell I meant well and wasn't doing it to be rude and probably wasn't even aware I was doing it at all. She sensed my anxiety and that my brain was rushing to think of the next thing to say to respond to something she just said rather than waiting for her to finish. Who knows how many dates I might have gone on and blown it by inadvertently doing this. I've been cognizant about it ever since. If all their exes are crazy or are assholes. I've got a few normal exes that due to life circumstances on one side or the other, or both, didn't work out. I've got a few that we just weren't long-term compatible. And like most I do, have a couple that are, at least they were different kinds, batshit crazy. But if all their exes are jerks, it most likely means that they are the jerk. The 2 crazies I dated both spoke this way about all their former relationships. Speaking from my experience from my one relationship I've had so far that was abusive, distrust. If the person is suspicious you are a cheater on no basis other than their own insecurity, run. OMG run please. Save yourself the heartache and degradation. A lack of self-awareness. I once dated a guy who told 2 anecdotes of funny cluster duck situations. Both featured clear moments where the fault was his lack of research, his failure to follow through. But both stories were told like everyone else caused the issues. Like, where you'd expect her to say yeah I should've done X, he would just say, so Milo was an idiot and jumped. A week later, and it was clear he didn't see he was the common denominator in his issues. He was quick to blame others. Any suggestion of self-improvement was met by a blank stare. A touch of humility and a lot of self-awareness is so necessary. Sending nudes or videos of herself getting hit from the back 15 minutes into y'all's very first conversation ever. Yeah, very specific. I know. When they start complaining about other people in your life and trying to get you to see how bad these people are for you, etc. when they aren't doing any messed up to you to begin with. This is not about truly abusive people who are hurting you and a loved one wants you to leave them. Witness my abusive ex who started in the second week of dating telling me how much my parents didn't love me or trust me for having a curfew and insist I study on school nights instead of be out with him all night. I was 17 and still in high school. Soon enough that extended to how my best friend was kind of dismissive of me. He pounced on every little disagreement I had to blow it up times 10. Man, if it was someone else in my life he was in there trying to drive that wedge and make me see how all those other people really didn't have my best interests at heart. He is where I learned all about a little something called projection. Continually posting bits of our relationship on social media. I'm dating the person, not their fan club. Someone who compliments you way too much. This might sound weird, because of course everyone likes being complimented, but when I'm talking to you about something serious I don't want to hear back quote sorry I couldn't concentrate you're so beautiful or back quote wow I haven't heard a word you said cause all I want to do is kiss you all the damn time. This sort of clues me in that yeah I'm pretty but you've put me on such a high pedestal that you can't see me as anything less than a goddess and I want to be in a relationship not worshipped because you have a weird fetish, if that makes any sense. I'm sorry I stopped listening I was lost in your eyes. Do you need some space? I understand. Yeah I just need to get my head straight a second. Woo so you don't wanna talk to me? Asking where I am, who I'm with, what I'm doing constantly. Sure it's just a question now, but in 5 months it's not being allowed to be certain places with certain people. Controlling behavior is the biggest red flag there is. Shut that shit down immediately. I knew this one girl who, on our first and only date, just would not shut up about how heartbroken she was that David Bowie had died 2 days ago. Every time I would try to steer the conversation elsewhere, she would say, oh yeah, that reminds me of the time David did this. At first it was endearing, but it got annoying really quickly, and that was the end of that. I still sometimes wonder if I had caught her at a different time, if things would have gone differently.